The Temple Mount in Jerusalem, close to the Golden Gate through which the Jewish Messiah will once enter the Holy City. Here is where the Rabbi Victor Tullmann wanted to be buried. My Aunt Hella made his final wish come true. Together with her dead husband, she moved from Paris to Jerusalem in 1989. Even after his death, she wanted to be close to him. She has been visiting his grave at the Mount of Olives every month. The famous Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem. Another Messiah found his bitter ending here 2,000 years ago. My aunt turned away from him and became Jewish. With my camera and my friend Tom, I'm going to visit Aunt Hella. They say that she voluntarily went into a concentration camp. Aunt Hella is going to be 95 soon, so it's time for me to go and find out more about her and about this country's history. Many questions, to which there may not be an easy answer. What stories would these stones have to tell?
يلا شاكر حلا شاكر حلا شاكر حلا يلا شاكر حلا شاكر אדון, לסגור את החנות. שבת קודש, שבת קודש, להתערב, שבת קודש. כל הבקלבים. אדון, שבת קודש. להתערב.
My aunt avoids the noisy city centre. She lives in solitude in one of the quiet outskirts. She demonstrates a peculiar therapeutic coach which she designed herself in Paris.
Jetzt, ja. Ja, jetzt geht es wieder.
Muss mal beölt werden.
Es geht nach links und jetzt langsam Richtung Füße herunter. Und dass das Gehirn fühlt und teilnimmt, wie die inneren Kräfte, die das Gehirn ja auch leiten kann, wie die jetzt in Richtung der Beine gehen, um zu tragen. Eben, das sind Sachen, über die man lustig und normal sprechen kann. Das hat nichts mit mystisch und zu tun, aber mit der feinen Aufmerksamkeit unseres Gehirnes. Dass wir uns in diese Tatsache der Anziehungskraft der Erde und so dieser der Harmonie der Energien, und das sind wahrscheinlich in uns die elektromagnetischen Wellen, ein kleiner Teil dieser Wellen, der mit zusammenwirkt mit dem kosmischen Gleichgewicht, wie soll man sagen, Harmonie. Wie eine unhörbare Musik.
In her youth, Aunt Hella received an education as a free dancer by a prince of Java. The secret powers of motion have always fascinated her, as she puts it. Together with this Asian artist and his family, she traveled across Europe. When the Second World War caught up with them in France, she decided to stay in the concentration camp in Gör rather than going back to Germany as a free person. Why did she voluntarily go to the concentration camp? My family is avoiding this question.
Ja, ich bin ins Lager gegangen, hatte mir Wasserstiefel gekauft. Man sagte, das ist bei den Pyrenäen und da fällt viel Wasser runter. Nehmen Sie Wasserstiefel mit, einen Rucksack und ein paar praktische Sachen. Und dachte, das wird nicht lange dauern, lass du dich internieren. Denn mit Hitler mitzumachen, das konnte ich nicht. Nicht gehorchen. Nicht gehorchen. Das ist etwas ganz tief, wie soll ich sagen, nicht gehorchen, auf eigene Initiative, auf eigene Gefühle lauschen. Und so war ja das Suchen nach dieser Ausstrahlungskraft ganz gerichtet auch auf die eigenen Gefühle, die man hat. Und dann kann man nicht gehorchen, was ein anderer will. Das geht einfach nicht. Und so konnte ich einfach nicht gehorchen und habe vorgezogen, ins Lager zu gehen. Und gar nicht wie dass ich stolz drauf gewesen wäre oder ich wusste eigentlich gar nicht, was ich machte. Ich wollte nicht gehorchen. Diese kleinen Sachen sind Zeichnungen, die ich gemacht habe im Lager und man hat dann gesehen, dass ich zeichnete und dann sind Leute gekommen und haben gesagt, ach, können Sie mir nicht auch was zeichnen? Ich möchte meiner Mutter schicken oder jemand. Und dann habe ich dafür ein Ei bekommen oder ein Stück Brot oder ein Käse oder Gott weiß was, habe Essen dafür bekommen und habe mit diesen kleinen Zeichnungen, habe ich doch meine Kräfte behalten können in einem gewissen Zustand. So wie man langsam den Menschen ja, seelisch, moralisch zugrunde macht durch ja, es wurden sogar zuerst noch Kinder geboren im Lager. Nachher war das dann nicht möglich, weil man die Familien alle auseinandergebracht hat.
Hella met the love of her life inside the concentration camp, the Rabbi Viktor Tullmann.
Viktor war Spanienkämpfer gewesen. Er hatte das Aufbauen der Baracken miterlebt. Er hatte einen wunderbaren Bariton, war Rabbiner, Kabbalist und ein kräftiger Mann. Meine Mutter hat, wie sie hörte, dass ich mich mit diesem Rabbiner, mit diesem Juden und Rabbiner verlobt habe. Wir haben uns verlobt zusammen im Lager. Ich schickte sie durch die Schweiz durch einen Freund, Pfarrer, regelmäßig für ihn und für mich ein Päckchen. Und das hat gemacht, dass wir noch auf den Beinen standen, noch arbeitsfähig war. Und das hat wieder gemacht, dass Viktor nicht nach Auschwitz kam, weil er noch auf seinen Beinen stand, sondern er wurde nach Marseille in ein Arbeitslager geschickt. Für die Deutschen musste er Säcke tragen und so weiter. Die mussten arbeiten für das deutsche Militär in Frankreich. Und das hat ihm sein Leben gerettet. Von da ist er dann auch ausgerückt und ins französische Militär gekommen.
Victor and Hella lost track of each other. After the war, Aunt Hella left Germany and traveled to Paris. She was hoping to find Victor there. In Belgium, she was arrested and incarcerated for several months. She was alleged of being a Nazi. This was her worst time, she tells me.
שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ.
Despite her old age, Aunt Hella at times celebrates Pesach together with distant relatives of her late Victor.
שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית.
After all these years in Jerusalem, she still speaks not a word of Hebrew. Berlin, the memorial to the 6 million murdered Jews of Europe. 2,711 standing blocks to commemorate them. Concrete remembrance. A country filled with stumbling blocks bearing the names of the murdered. Can it be that our fixation with all these dead sometimes lets us forget the Jews living today? We see a zest of life, despite many threats by Israel's enemies.
הרג כוח מסתערבים של משמר הגבול שוטר פלסטיני במהלך חילופי אש במרכז העיר. הכוח נכנס לעיר כדי לעצור מבוקשים, אך נחשף במחסום בעיר בידי שוטרי מנגנון הביטחון הפלסטיני.
We are driving through the night as we hear the news that just moments ago a Qassam rocket has hit a house in Sderot. This is anything but unusual in this city close to Gaza. 4,200 Qassam rockets have already hit. Although these self-made rockets are far from being weapons of mass destruction, they aren't harmless either. 11 people have been killed in Sderot. Israel, a country in a permanent state of war.
ואיפה עצמו?
לא, המשטרה לקחה אותו.
הוא יצא החוצה?
לא, הוא נשאר שם. אני חושב שבגלל שזה נתן את המכה ליד הקיר, אז זה לא חדר. אם זה היה באמצע, לכתידה.
Алло, Жанна! Жанночка, папу с мамой увезли в Бейт-Холим. В Барзилае они. Да, они в Барзилае. А ключ это самое здесь. Так что ты можешь прийти. Все нормально, не беспокойся.
Why do Israel and the Palestinians not find peace? Why is this hatred always rekindled? We want to know. We have questions. A good place to find answers is the Café Tamar in Tel Aviv. It is the city's oldest cafe and is considered a legendary meeting point for intellectuals. Its owner, Sarah Stern, has been running the Tamar since the 50s through unstable times. We connect with the Peace Movement, a multinational group in this country.
There are many people, much more people that use violent resistance, use non-violent resistance. However, it cannot be so much on the camera because it is just to meet. People need to break the law. There are different areas in the West Bank. So if Israelis want to meet their Palestinian counterparts, they have to illegally cross the checkpoint, which is most of the time the only way they can meet each other.
Palestine, a dusty and sun-bleached area of contention. Cut off from the world's market almost entirely, the cultivation of this hard land, ancient as it appears, nevertheless grants the Palestinians some sort of primary self-sufficiency. The Palestinian farmers are a thorn in the side of the Jewish settlers, who claim more and more land. The Israeli army takes excellent care of the settlers' security. They get along. To protect a single Jewish settler, the army deploys 6 soldiers. The soldiers are taking away this farmer's keys for his tractor to keep him from working his fields. This is against the Geneva Conventions. This buzz of an Israeli peace initiative is on its way to a small village near Hebron. They gather to shield Palestinian farmers who are working on their fields. They want to make sure that no human rights are violated. There are Israelis of all classes, of all ages, who have gathered here to stand up for peace with their Arab neighbors. Being in the West Bank is not without risk for these civilians. Without valid papers, they have to fear being arrested. Their presence aims to put the soldiers under pressure, to show that the settlers' actions are not always matched by the democratic majority.
השם הקטן שלא מאשר לנו. וידאו. חייל, אתה צריך שם ודרגה, שם פרטי ודרגה אתה חייב לתת. כל אחד והסמכויות שלו. סלאם. תרגיע איתו. למה כי אתה רוצה לצלם?
יש פה 200 איש שבאו לבקר אנשים, אתם עוצרים אותם.
For Israelis, if they refuse to serve in the army, or if they only say that there is actually such a thing as Palestinians, or actually such a thing as the West Bank, or Palestinian people, they get excluded from their society. Their parents do not talk to each other, to them anymore. Their brothers call them sissies, or in the worst case, they're even called traitors, or a lot of people are accused of being a self-hating Jew. In Palestine, the Palestinians face much the same problem. If you want to work with an Israeli, you're not a true Palestinian. You give away the Palestinian cause. Talking to an Israeli makes you a collaborator or an agent, or in the best case, a normalizer.
למען זכויות ומתוך כעס על העוולות שנעשו לכם. אנחנו כאן כדי לתת לכם את התקווה הזאת ולמנוע מכם ללכת בדרך האפלה שמביאה רק להרס ואבדון.
שמעתי אותך מדבר, אתה מדבר כמו עובד אלילים. עובד אלילים, מסתכל מלמעלה, אתה מזכיר לי את היטלר, אתה מזכיר לי. אתה מזכיר לי עם הצורה שלך לדבר לערבים כמו היטלר.
והעיקר שאתה ליברלי, וכל מי שלא כמוך גזעני. אתה ליברלי וכל מי שלא כמוך גזעני. אני יודע, בדיוק.
למה הוא מייצג אתכם, אתה יודע?
אני יודע בדיוק מי אתה. אתה ליברלי.
אתם גזענים, האדמה לא שייכת לכם. האדמה לא שייכת לכם, ואתם תראו שתוך זמן קצר אתם לא כאן.
מנדל האוס.
אולי בגלל זה שאתה רשמת את אלוהים בכמה אתה חושב?
מנדל האוס.
בפתח תקווה זה שלך,
כן, צלם כמה שאתה רוצה, פאקיון, שקט, בביץ'.
הצו יופקד לעיונו של כל המעוניין בשעות העבודה הרגילות במקומות הבאים, מילדת תיאום הקישור, משטרת ישראל, הכרזה תחול מה-1/12/07. עכשיו, אחרי שקראתי לכם, יש לכם דקה. בסדר?
חבר'ה, בוא נלך מכאן.
זה המיוערת.
The soldiers end the protest. They declare the area a military zone, an unmistakable order for the Israeli peace activists to leave the area immediately. Resistance will take you to jail.
They believe that violence is not the way to end the solution. Non-violent resistance in Israel and Palestine is different than, for example, Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King. It's not a conviction against all violence. They do not believe that we should do away with all army or that we should become pacifist. They believe it's a strategy. They believe that they tried violent resistance and violent occupation for 60 years and it's not working. Non-violence is the only way for both sides to just live. And that's, if you ask anyone who works with it what they want to do, they just want to live in peace.
The roots of the struggle over my aunt's last homeland are many, and they run deep. The golden cupola of the Dome of Rock marks the very spot where a memorable story is said to have happened 4,000 years ago. Abraham, who had come from the place known as Iraq today, was supposed to sacrifice his second-born son to the local god. But the god did not accept the sacrifice. Instead, he blessed faithful Abraham, who had proved that he was ready to surrender his son for his unconditional faith. Moses said, "And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee, and to thy seed after thee, the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God." Abraham, Avram, or Ibrahim is considered to be the common father of all Semites and Arabs. But the peace between Abraham's children is fragile. They evolved towards different religions. One of the gods could not accept other gods beside him. Freedom of religion. Why is it so difficult here? Again and again, religion is used for politics, becomes a chess piece in the fight over power, a wall separating Abraham's children.
If you want to talk about peace, we see in the TV every day couple of million they wish, but where's the real peace? There is not. It's only talking, but to find really people to do that, it's not anymore, because it's power now. It's like mafia game, money, petrol, chair, it's power. It's like mafia game. It's not religious. They put the religious in the picture, but it's not religious, because if you want to talk about religious, in any religious, God never say kill. God never say blood. But they kill each other in the name of this God. So God never say something like that.
The Golan Heights. Another story of love and suffering. During the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel occupied this strategically important mountain range in Syria. 120,000 Arabs, to whom this was home, were driven away to the neighboring countries. The religious community of the Druses decided to stay. In 1981, the Golan Heights were officially annexed by Israel. Only a few days later, the UN Security Council ruled this annexation void in its Resolution 497. It created the buffer zone. In Maid al-Shams, every year in March, a very special event takes place on both sides of the demarcation line. It's Mother's Day. On the Israeli side, the mothers gather. On the Syrian side, the opposite side, it's their sons and daughters who gather. The children live in Syria as there are little educational opportunities for non-Jewish minorities living in Israel.
الله يسلمك وانت بخير يا قبار، ان شاء الله تجوا بخير. وينه باسم؟ تسلم. نسيم ابراهيم، انا امك يا قلبي. تنعد عليك ان شاء الله بالصحه والسلامه. وانت بعد بخير يا قباري، كيف حالك؟ منيح؟
790 kilometers of anti-terror fence. As a German, I remember the Berlin Wall that was to protect the actually existing socialism from the capitalist aggressors. In the end, the wall came down and the two German states were reunified. For the construction of this fence, 36 Palestinian settlements were divided, more than 80,000 olive trees were cut down, 32 fountains were annexed, and 35 kilometers of water pipes were destroyed. In some places, enclaves were created, almost completely surrounded by walls.
The wall has changed the lives of many people around here, and among them is me and my family. My personal experience is the sadness of waking up every day and looking at what used to be here, the family garden, with all the trees and all the plants. The wall for us, especially for me, is the end of a phase, which is like of this beautiful, remember of this, ending a phase in which I remember this place as being beautiful and bright and shiny and full of love, and into a place that is now full of sad memories, and which is now a symbol of, let's say, separation and losing those who you care about.
Israel built the wall deep inside Palestinian territory, thus swaying from the agreed frontier. The International Court of Justice declared the barricades partially illegal, but no sanctions followed. For some, it is too much. For some, it is too little. To the supporters of the idea of Great Israel, the wall is a thorn in the side too. The Likud nationalists demand the expansion of Israel from the Mediterranean coastline all the way to Jordan. This dream too moved beyond reach with the construction of the edifice.
Diese Mauer ist für die Palästinenser eben eine Provokation. Das bedeutet Landnahme, Enteignung und auch das Blockieren der Wirtschaftsbeziehungen zwischen beiden Völkern hier. Also die Mauer ist vielleicht kurzfristig für die Sicherheit der Israelis vorteilhaft. Aber es wäre noch vorteilhafter, auf der Basis einer Verständigung dieselbe Sicherheit oder noch mehr Sicherheit herzustellen. Das ist diese militärische oder militaristische Denkart. Mehr Macht, mehr Kontrolle, mehr Polizei, mehr Militär. Das ist die Lösung.
This is one of more than 600 Israeli checkpoints in the occupied Western Jordan. Again and again there are incidents like emergency childbirths. The suffering of the Palestinians moves the hearts of some Israeli women. Mahsom Watch is the name of their initiative, already supported by several hundred women from the center of society. Mahsom Watch, Checkpoint Watch. In the past years, many pregnant Palestinians had to give birth to their children at such checkpoints. We heard about 34 stillbirths and of 4 mothers dying.
הלו, אנחנו מהקונטיינר. אנחנו מטפלים בזה. אני יודעת, אנחנו מטפלים בזה, מדברים איתם, מה שאפשר אנחנו עושים. טוב, תודה רבה. סליחה, אבל אני דיברתי איתם, ביי. טוב.
The vital trade is handicapped by the strict controls at the checkpoints. Every box, every item has to be unloaded by the merchants. It has to pass the checkpoint individually and is then loaded again on the other side into another vehicle. The women of Mahsam Watch hope to at least mitigate the confrontations at the checkpoints. They also try to act as agents during immediate problems. To get to work, to go shopping or to reach a hospital, the Palestinians have to pass the checkpoints. Often they are held up for hours or even days, often without any reasons given. They need a pass issued by Israeli administration, which is to be shown at every checkpoint. During many holidays or during national events, the checkpoints are closed. Families are thus separated.
פה הייתה פינה של תה וקפה והכל, הם נשארו תקועים בלא כלום. כי המחסום כאן כבר סגור. תודה רבה. לפי הבוס שם, יכול להיות שיפתחו כאן יום אחד משהו באפשרות לעבור.
The women only spend a few hours at every checkpoint, then they move on to the next. The young soldiers don't know where they will show up next, and they rarely repulse them. The controller's control. It reminds them of commensurability.
We don't want to cooperate with the soldiers, but if we don't manage somehow to speak with them, and they are very hostile, we can do almost nothing in terms of, trying to help. I think it is still important that we stand there and that we take evidence and that we write it and try to send it out, the stories, although I'm sure that only a minority takes the trouble to read them.
This checkpoint is officially off limits for Israelis. The women from Mahsam Watch should not be allowed to pass.
אפשר להפסיק קליפ.
Soldier began to frighten me, telling me this is a military zone. And I already know that a military, in order to convey or transform an area to a military zone, you have to have an order by אלוף, אני לא יודעת מה זה אלוף, high general, very high general. And it has to be written and signed by him and say and give the date and the exact boundaries of the military zone. If he cannot show it to me, then there is no military zone. And obviously what he was trying to do is to frighten me. And I told him, see, I know what is a military zone. Show me a general order signed. So then they moved to they are calling the police. And then they began to tell me they are stopping to the movement of the Palestinians. They will not work. So I took out a letter from the judicial advisor of the army saying that Mahsom Watch women presence is not a reason to stop passing the Palestinians. And I told him, read it. It's your judicial, it's not me, it's a military judicial. Who cares about him? I'm here, But they continue to check the Palestinians. They didn't stop the work of the checkpoints. And they moved us a little bit further, but they didn't manage to move us very far away, which was their preliminary demand. They are, however, stopped you from taking... Wow!
The tomb of the patriarchs in Hebron. According to the Bible, this is not only where Abraham and his family found their last rest, but also where the mortal remains of Adam and Eve lay. The resting place of Adam and Eve is far from being a paradise today. It lies in the middle of an isolated, fragmented and occupied area. The conflict here has been smoldering for thousands of years. In the Bible, God gave the city of Hebron to the children of Israel with the help of his prophet Joshua. But the number of Jews living here remained low. In 1492, a few hundred displaced Jews from Spain renewed the Jewish presence in Palestinian Hebron. In 1929, there was uproar. Palestinians killed 67 Jews. The Jewish community left their houses and fled to Jerusalem. Surrounded by nearly 200,000 Palestinians, there are about 700 Jewish settlers and students living here today, in the center of this hermetically sealed historic town. To make place for them, more than 1,000 apartments and almost twice as many shops formerly used by Palestinians were cleared. A normal life or economic development seem impossible here.
The situation here is so hard and difficult on us as a Palestinian, especially shopkeepers and people who's passing from this road towards the mosque. Is the settlement the one on top of these shops? These houses belong to Palestinian. 2 floors, they came and they occupied them. They kicked people out of them. They forced them to leave them. and they built another floor on top, which is not their properties. They don't own it. And who lives here now on top of us? Settlers. And trying to kick us outside here and to make life hard and difficult for us. They keep throwing on us garbage, stones, bottles, sometimes dirty water, sometimes bleach to burn our clothes, which is we can't avoid it. We done as a shopkeepers this metal fence to protect ourselves and protecting visitor who's passing from here. The army, they occupied these ceilings and they are to look after the settlers and to protect the settlers. When they see them causing trouble, they don't stop them. They just look at them and laugh. This is not the way to treat people like us, a human being in a way. It's the way you treat bloody animals, or even animals in European countries, they treat them well. And we are not going to leave as long as we live. We are determined to stay here. We are not going to give up because this is our homeland. Behind these shops, it used to be the biggest market, a grocery market, selling vegetable and the fruit market. A lot of shops, not just one or two shops, over 100 shops. And it used to be the main shop for the Palestinian. And the villages around the city, they used to come to here, the Bedouin, everybody. And they shut it. They just put their hands on it and they occupied it, and Palestinian people, they are not allowed to walk over there at all. It's just a road for the settlers and the army. It's so sad. It's what you call a disaster, what they done over there.
In 1994, there was yet another bloodbath. This time, an armed Jewish settler entered a mosque and opened fire on the praying Muslims. 29 Palestinians were killed and more than 200 injured. Some extremist Jews keep praising this massacre as a great and heroic deed year after year.
Heute, wo der Prozess so verfahren geworden ist, zum großen Teil deswegen, weil Israel überall in der Westbank Siedlungen gründete, ist es ungeheuer schwierig, hier ein Zwei-Staaten-System zu schaffen. Und da könnte man sich überlegen, wäre nicht ein Staat, ein multinationaler Staat oder binationaler Staat, nicht eine bessere Lösung sein. Das akzeptieren mehr als 90% der Israelis nicht, weil man nicht in der Minderheit sein will. Und man weiß, man wird irgendwann in der Minderheit sein. Und deswegen ist diese Lösung genauso unpraktisch wie die Zwei-Staaten-Lösung. Aber solange es keine Lösung gibt und die einzige Lösung, die man bisher gefunden hat, ist die Fortsetzung der verfahrenen Situation, sollte man vielleicht versuchen, die eine oder die andere Lösung doch weiterentwickeln.
A small solution to ease the conflict could be a fair association among the inhabitants of the occupied areas. The continuing expansion of Jewish settlements on Palestinian territory is not considered an honest effort to find a peaceful solution. Every Friday, after praying in the mosque, the men of Bilin take part in a demonstration. Sometimes they are only a few hundred, sometimes thousands. Some foreigners and even a few Israelis joined the demonstration. The intensive settling in the occupied areas worsened the situation of the people of Bilin and other villages. Not only have they lost important agricultural land, they are even denied access to their graveyard. They say they want to protest peacefully. Their only weapons shall be words. Israel's army is getting ready. Year after year, the pictures are the same. Both demonstrators and military stick to their roles. They are willing antagonists, the ideal projection screen for an animosity that has become part of the cultural heritage.
אין בעיות! אין בעיות! שקט יא מניאק! אין בעיות! אין שום דבר! רגע! רגע אחי קצין! هذه بتطلعني صديع اضغط عليه حيطلعني ما يطلعني انا مرت شوي اطلع تعال اجي ارجع لك معها تعال استنى دان هذا عدن هيعتزم هذا مرة حرام لازم يدهن الجدار لازم يدهن زين أفكر لو אני לא שאלתי אם זה אדמה שלכם לעוף לקו הטלטלית קדימה, לעוף יש גדר שם לא לגעת תראה לנו תביא לנו קצין לעוף אחורה קדימה לא, לעוף אחורה לא 10 דקות 2 דקות בדיוק לעוף אחורה קדימה לעוף אחורה עוד 2 דקות אנחנו מתחילים לעשות מעצרים קדימה, לעוף אחורה ללכת אחורה קדימה, אתם נמצאים בשטח צבאי סגור ללכת אחורה, קדימה, ללכת לקו של הטלטלית תחזרו לקו של הטלטלית בסדר, שומעים לכם דיברתי יפה אתם רוצים שלא ללכת קצין, אין שום דבר, אין אבנים, אין שום דבר כולה אני אגיד לך, הקצין רק מדברים דקה זה הטלטלים, אל תשימו בשבוע אל תשימו אתה יודע, הגדר שלכם על העיר תל אביב לא על הכפר שלנו בסדר, אני אגיד לך הגדר על העיר תל אביב לא בו גמרنا خلاص يلا روحوا يلا افتحوا من قبل يلا قديمه عدت
عماد عماد بول لا يعذر لك اكله تقاعد خيالين في دليل زي لا يعذر لك عماد عماد بول يا زلمه خذ حالك وروح طب خذ حالك وروح
קודם הם צעקו שאם נפסיק לזרוק אבנים, נפסיק...
לא, אבל האבנים זה ילדים, בדרך כלל יש לפעמים שיש גם בצמצות
Stones to fight an army, an image like David against Goliath. Half-naked David stood before his iron-clad enemy with nothing but a slingshot to fight for his people. One of the founders of our Western democracy, the Frenchman Rousseau, said, "Between the weak and the strong one, it is the freedom which oppresses and the law that liberates." The presence of us strangers and our cameras reminds the parties to remain peaceful. Again and again, this weekly event results in casualties. With our cameras, as foreigners, as Germans, we become involved ourselves. We become chessmen in this escalating conflict.
Who deported the Palestinians? The so-called left. Where the fucking kibbutzim sitting, Arab land? All the refugees in Lebanon, they're not because of me that I'm saying, no. They're because of those so-called leftists now today. They say, oh, leftists, we are pro-peace. Let's, 67, why 67? Why not 48? Oh, it was then, let's start again. Why start? So let's forget the Nazis too. If the time give legitimation to things. Or Stalin or whatever. Let's forget all the fucking bad things and start the history now. So they decide to start the history then. They decide what to do. It's amazing. They want to build here Europe. They all the time remind you about Europe, about the horrible things in Europe. On the other hand, Europe is the best, the greatest culture. So decide what the fuck you are. Don't confuse us. You confuse already. Why are you confusing us? You confuse all the time. You're pushing us every fucking day about the horrible things that happened to you there. And on the other hand, you say Europe, the greatest culture. Israel is European. We came from the great culture. Great culture is not only Mozart. Great culture is also the Nazis. Great culture is Stalin. And that's how they live in this contradiction, and they put us in this contradiction. We talk about it. We talk about it. They took the Holocaust now. Since then they took the Holocaust, since the 50s, as a business. How to manipulate big, huge bunch of people here around as their slaves.
During our filming, my partner Tom fell in love with the Arab Jew Anat. He spent some time with her in Israel after our work was finished. Maybe the trust in love can help overcome the painful conflict between the two peoples. Maybe love is the power we need to heal wounds, to sow new hope. Maybe.
Why do I shoot
So many people, so many people suffer. Why? How do I do now with my past? What can I do now with my past? How do I forgive? How do I change the way I perceive myself? How hard is to agree? How hard is to forgive? How do I change every time again? How do I let go a sure thing I've made? How do I leave?
Hear, O Israel, writes the Jewish poet Erich Fried. You have outlined those who were cruel to you. Does their cruelty live on in you now? Works of the Jewish artist Yair Levi. He is originally from Yemen. In Yemen, his forefathers led peaceful lives as part of the Muslim society for centuries. In his art, Yair tries to conjoin the two cultures peacefully.
I made a samurai. The last samurai was fighting and he lost his eye. I make a sculpture who lost his eye. And week after there was a war here in Israel in 73. They throw a hand grenade to my head, it was exploding. One shrapnel, all the rest, the 1,000, gone. Only one shrapnel took the eye. To prove. And that's why I'm doing. Everywhere I see eye. We have very good life, good atmosphere, no hateness, no, we never felt that like somebody following us and said, go away. The Muslim people there in the desert, we were together, we are they participate with us and give us such a good feeling. That's why I think that's the idea I'm doing and dealing from everything from the earth, from the desert. I'm talking about the clay, even things from the tree. I use everything what is done before. I put it now together because I got the influence from my background.
Yair exhibits his sculptures all over the world as a worldwide plea for the peaceful melting of cultures.
The important thing, I do it for the idea of peacefully, really. Just, I'm working peacefully, relaxed I'm very relaxed. And I hope that all my idea will come one day and people will understand it.
Only a few kilometers from Tel Aviv, we visit the shop of the Palestinian artist Mazem. His art too contains unmistakable influences of the Orient. Together with his American partner Julia, he uses his art as a peaceful influence on his hostile environment. Mazem used to be a politician. Now he turned away from politics and made his peace.
Politician is not the right way to change the world, because all the time I had a dream to change this bullshit world, to be more nice, more peaceful, more quiet, more fair, more justice. But I discovered politician is corruption, is part of injustice in this world. Also, it means you should be part of this conflict, a bullshit conflict in this world. But my target to solve these conflicts, not to be part of these conflicts. This is the problem. So I decided to stop as politician, and I start my working. I choose to be a writer and artist. I became satisfied and in peace with myself, because I discovered what I need and my needs, and I discovered I can do by art more than politics. And because of this, I think I became more relaxed, and I can understand the others more than before. Because before, when I had this position and this point of view of the world, I had this solution, okay? This is my solution. This is the right way. But later I discovered the world is more open and more wide than this specific point or this direction. And it's not my right also to put my direction and to push all the people to follow this direction. Each one has a right to choose his way in this life. The violence is not the solution. And also peace. What means peace? Peace and to build two states where we drink the same water, and we breathe the same air. And also, if any fool man, tomorrow, want to bomb Israel by nuclear bomb, it means just not just against Israeli, also against me. So it's a bullshit situation, and it's hard situation, it's tough situation. Because of this, I think and I believe deeply, deeply, deeply. One state for all of us, and democracy is the solution.
It's not hard to see that Hebrew, after thousands of years, is no longer the exclusive language of the Holy Scriptures. In Israel, they say, If Moses came back today and asked for a piece of bread, everybody would understand him. But then again, if Moses really did come back today, maybe he would be taken for Palestinian or Bedouin and asked for his papers. A woman takes us to a secretive meeting with Tali Fahima. The formerly conservative Jew is seen as a traitor by many because she single-handedly initiated a dialogue with the state enemy, the Arab Zachariah Speidi, boss of the Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades. The Israel security agency Shabak held her captive for 3 years without legal basis, a fate that she shares with many critical individuals in Israel. Tali Fahima spent many months in solitary confinement. She was tortured. A media campaign was launched to portray her as insane, to spread the rumor that she was expecting a child fathered by the terrorist. We encounter a woman who fights courageously for more understanding between the two peoples and thus opposes the Israeli security agency. The Israeli security agency Shabak held Tali Fahima captive without legal basis for 3 years. Her fate is shared by many others, but the Israeli media are playing her story down. They call her crazy. One of many sad stories written by Shabak.
שכמובן היה מעצר מאוד מאוד גדול, עצרו אותי יחידת מסתערבים, שזו יחידה טרוריסטית שבעצם מתחפשת לאוכלוסייה מקומית ומבצעת רצח. אני כמובן לא התנגדתי למעצר, אני לא אדם חמוש, לא שום דבר, ואני זוכרת שהיו שם יריות באוויר, ופשוט השתוללו שם. טוב, כל זה תוכנית של שב"כ, הזרוע הציונית של המקום הזה. ואז הגענו למתקן שב"כ שוב. שם הייתי חודש, שבחלק הראשון כמובן עוד חשבו שהם יוכלו לגייס אותי לשורות שלהם. ברגע שהם הבינו שלא, אז התחילה האגרסיה והאיומים וההטרדות המיניות ולא להתקלח, וימים שלמים כמובן שבועות לא להתקלח והפחדות. ואני כמובן נשארתי, עמדתי על שלי והמשכנו. אמרתי, יש לכם משהו, תגישו. יש בית משפט, אנחנו נמשיך. מעצר מנהלי הוא כמובן מעצר ללא משפט, זה כמו גואנטנמו, ששמים שם אנשים ללא משפט, ללא כתב אישום, ללא שום דבר. חותם על זה שר ביטחון בישראל, ואין לי שום דבר לעשות עם זה. המדינה טוענת לחומר חסוי, הכותרות הן סכנה. כמובן במקביל, שירות הביטחון הכללי עסק בקמפיין תקשורתי רחב של טלי פחימה מזדיינת עם ערבים, טלי פחימה מאוהבת בזכריה זביידי, טלי פחימה בהיריון מזכריה זביידי, רק לא, הכל כדי להכפיש אותי. עכשיו כמובן יותר קל לעשות את זה בגלל שאני יהודיה ערבייה, וכמה קל לקחת אחת כמוני ולהכפיש אותה. ומיד להוקיע אותי בעצם כבוגדת. אני לקמפיין הזה לא שיתפתי איתו פעולה, ואני לא משתפתי איתו פעולה עד היום. כמובן מאותו רגע, שוב פעם, חיי בסכנה, לא יכולתי ללכת ברחוב, שום דבר, פשוט ברחתי על נפשי מאזור המרכז. באמת, בזכות שתי משפחות פלסטיניות מפה שנתנו לי מחסה מכל הגזענות, השנאה הזאת, האש שהופנתה כלפיי. בסך הכל אני יכולה באמת לסכם את הדברים ולהגיד שאני תקלה של הציונות. הציונות לא ציפתה שתקום טלי פחימה. היום אני יודעת שהחשש המאוד גדול של הציונות האשכנזית היא שבעצם האוכלוסייה היהודית ערבית תתקומם, תבין את הדיכוי, תתקומם מולם. זה הפחד הכי גדול של הציונות. אנחנו כעיקרון יהודים ערבים באנו פה לשרת את העניין הדמוגרפי של הציונות.
It is now the 15th of May. Israel is celebrating Independence Day. May 14th, 1948 was the end of the British mandate over Palestine. On this day, Ben-Gurion announced the birth of the new state of Israel. Shortly thereafter, Israel was recognized by the United States and the Soviet Union. This was followed by the attack of the Arab Liberation Army. But young Israel was able to fight off the attackers thanks to international help. On the Palestinian side, there is a simultaneous event, Nakba Day, the day of the catastrophe. On the occasion of the foundation of the State of Israel, millions mourn the loss of their state. The British administration had also promised a state for the Palestinian people, but 60 years later, this promise is still far from being fulfilled. On Nakba Day, black balloons rise up in the air. The balloons symbolize the lost Palestinian villages. 200 villages were occupied and every fifth of the roughly 4 million people was driven away. A land without people for a people without land. Israel's founder Ben-Gurion needed a place for his people to live in peace. Germany has a historic responsibility for this situation. But ever since the founding of Israel, the endless efforts to create a Jewish majority seem to fail. The Arabic part of the population is growing fast, some say too fast. As a democratic country, Israel can hardly keep their right of say away from them. In just a few years, the majority of the voters will be Arabic.
The logic behind this is always because we cannot have them become a majority. We cannot encourage them to join our society because they will turn it into an Arab society. And people would tell, oh, you want to live in an Arab society? You want to become an Arab? And I said, well, my grandparents were Arab. You know, they came from Yemen and they were okay, so what? But, and of course on the other side, you have the Arab fundamentalism, which becomes very threatening. So it's very easy for an Israeli secular to tell you, oh, you want to be an Arab, everybody will have to be like in Iran. So, and I say, well, you know, they're just a mirror image of our very strict religious Jews. We were the first to put religion into politics here.
Nativity Church in Bethlehem. This is where the Christian's Messiah was born, they say. His parents found nothing but this simple shelter. Not far from this holy place, people are again seeking shelter. Fugitives have been living here for decades. Thousands still hope to return to their old homeland that is now called Israel. It is warm in Jericho. The oasis is said to be the world's oldest permanent settlement. For more than 13,000 years, countless people have left their traces here. Since 2005, it is the Palestinian National Authority that has the power here. Some Israelis prefer a peaceful settlement policy. They want to move to the quiet of the desert. They hope to make the vast area of the Negev desert accessible all the way to the Egyptian border. Here too, the settlement has failed. But it failed peacefully. It failed due to the hardships of the desert, far away from civilization. This is where we meet the Jewish architect Shmuel. His vision for Israel is based on his faith in technology.
The only thing that we need is the land, the love of the people, and a vision to go. So if the world decided the vision of the future of the world is the space, and they are putting so much money into it and so much effort and so let's be part of it. We are here, little one, we'll be part of it, and we should create anything that is needed for the next generation to go with. And maybe we should be an example to the world for some other reason. And this for sure will bring us into a piece of our mind or piece of our heart, and once this peace will be created, then will be peace. Peace is an outcome to go to another level. Peace is not the goal in our life. Peace is just a basis for another thing to go. It's not a goal that we have to reach now. That's only a base to create something bigger and higher for each one's spirit and life. In order to understand what is life, we have to be in peace first. And as long as we are in war, we cannot come to this conclusion, and we cannot argue because we are in the argument. So this is what I see as the future of the country and the regime right now, that I believe that with work and love and cooperation, everything can be created.
I was not able to tell my Aunt Hella about my travels through Israel and Palestine. On the 19th of December 2008, she died at the age of 96 in a hospital in Jerusalem. This movie is dedicated to her.